The opinions expressed on this program are those of the program host and guest and are not necessarily those of this station, management, staff, and sponsors. WSTU does not endorse products that may be mentioned. Any reproduction or retransmission of this broadcast is strictly prohibited without written consent of WSTU. It's time now for the Crown Car Care Show. Call in with questions and comments, 220-9788, 220-WSTU. Now, here's your host.
Welcome, everybody, to the Crown Car Care Radio Hour. It's August 19th, 2019, and we are so happy everybody is listening.
Yes. We had a great show.
Oh, just a reminder, everyone out there that owns a business.
Yeah.
It's August 19th, which means it's tax day. Send
right.
in your sales tax money.
Yeah.
Everybody.
And it's actually too late if you do it at
5 o'clock, 5:01. It's too late and you're going to get hit with a fine.
Yeah.
Sales tax.
Ruh-roh.
Uh-oh. Every month we do it, us entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And we have a special guest here today. We really
We
do. It was a delight. I had met Peter from Peter's Hardware, and he has some other businesses, which I'm going to ask him about here in just a minute. I met him the other week over at one of our Treasure Coast Building Association meetings, and I was given the delight to sit next to him at breakfast.
Nice.
We had a wonderful breakfast, and we got chit-chatting, and I said, my gosh, what a great opportunity to have him on our show, and it's our alien special, and we were talking right here before the hour started, and he's got some keen insights, and we just can't wait.
Right.
Without further ado, here's Peter. Welcome, Peter.
Thank you. Hi,
Hey,
how you doing?
All right. Let's get you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, tell us a little bit about you own Peter's Hardware,
I do, yes.
and
You got your own theme music too, by the way. We got that.
we have
queued
theme
up for
music.
you.
Here, go ahead and start it.
Tool time.
Yeah, buddy.
Thank you.
All right.
So everybody in town seems to know me for Peter from Peter's Hardware, and I do appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, I got to tell you, the name, I've always had trouble. I'll introduce myself to somebody and I'll tell them what I do, and they always are at a loss of words as to what my first name is. But with Peter, it's no doubt.
No question.
And it was genius on your part, I'm going to tell you. It was just everybody knows your first name, and I struggle every time I meet somebody new for them that, pass out your business card, whatever. They don't
Right.
remember who you are.
Right.
Peter's, you're a legend in this town with your hardware store. It's a throwback to the old days of when you could walk into a hardware store and buy a couple of nails and a screw and, well, what else you got over there at that hardware store? You got a lot of stuff over there, don't you?
It's pretty much jammed to the max, that's for sure. Nobody ever complains. All right. And they just love it. They love the smell of it, and it's well lit, nice and clean. Yeah, it's definitely a throwback to the old days.
And he sells paint too. I want to tell you what kind of paint he sells because it's one of my favorites.
I'm loving you today.
King
buddy.
Richards.
Oh yeah, Richards, huh?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he sells Richards paints over
Yeah,
there.
made in Florida.
Oh yeah, you know about it.
Yeah, up in Rockledge.
Mhm.
That's right.
How many times have you and
60
I,
years they've been in business. They
Frank,
make
how-
paint in Florida for Floridians for Florida houses. That's
Right.
right.
how many times have you and I talked about Richards paint?
Quite a bit.
Quite a bit, because
Yeah.
my next door neighbor, where I lived at one of my homes, it was his favorite paint. And I was
They do a
delighted.
good job, Richard.
Oh, I know. But
I
what
didn't
I
know
like,
they
it's
sell
local.
Richards.
It's local.
That's right.
And I got to tell you,
I
and-
started as a Valspar dealer,
Yeah.
and I didn't appreciate Valspar, and I brought in Richards, and I'm
Yeah.
much happier.
Yeah.
that's fabulous. Well, let's get to the news, and then we're going to circle right back to Peter.
All right.
And we're going to really, we've got to, did you bring those questions we're going to grill them on?
yeah.
We've got a
I
whole,
think I got your
Barbecue
answer.
grill.
I've got a whole battery to hit them up with, but let's talk about the news first.
You want to
shall
talk
we?
about the Area 51 news?
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk
You
about
kidding?
that. We'll get that out of the way first. All right. So, Matty Roberts, he's the one who did the pledge to invade Area 51. That's supposed to take place around the 20th of September.
There's going to be a couple hundred people there, right?
2 million
What?
signed up on Facebook
You've got to be kidding me.
storm Area 51.
Oh my gosh.
But what this is, so he decided, he went out.
Now, wait a minute.
publicly.
Isn't there a movie they did that on?
Yeah,
Independence Day? I swear I saw a movie about
Right,
it.
right.
Peter, right? Am I right?
I would say that
Yeah.
it's going to be an interesting.
That's a lot of
adventure
people.
If you think everybody will show up?
I don't know, but they must have something there. What do they
Right.
got over there?
Well, No,
These
we
little
really
gr-
want to find out.
Little gray men?
I don't think so.
Okay, so
No.
keep going. Tell me
All
some
right.
more.
So what he said is that he said, listen, it was really a spoof. I really don't want you folks to show up. But if you're going to come, we're going to have a party instead outside of Area 51.
This is bigger than Burning Man.
He wants to turn it into,
Woodstock.
yes,
What'd you say it was? UFO
Ali-
stock or alien? stock?
alien stock.
Alien stuff.
I
Are there going
love
to be
it.
bands and everything there?
Yeah.
Coldplay showing up?
Yeah.
They're not going to charge money, are
I
they?
don't
Think
know.
there's going to be vendors?
It could be.
Could-
I think if you sell water, you'll be huge.
Yeah.
You-
it's
well,
gonna be hot.
well, I believe Peter is got to.
That's one of my other businesses
That's
I'm
right,
gonna
Peter.
talk about.
Where are you going to be next week?
Yeah. See, but
Water's a big deal.
isn't that
Oh,
too
you better
funny?
believe it is.
But anyways, according to his website, Alien Stock will be a party in the desert. It will feature camping, music, art installations, and surprise performances.
I'm concerned is there going to be facilities and for this mass of people,
Right.
you have to have an infrastructure set up for just situations.
Yes.
Unless maybe they'll open their doors.
And isn't the whole thing about Alien and Area 51 is that it's in the middle of nowhere?
Yeah.
So how do you get 500,000 toilets out there?
I don't know. Well, I propose I bring a Winnebago with bulletproof glass and a ram bar on the front.
Right. Because
That's what I would bring.
right, because this is an automotive show. We want to find out what are you going to drive?
Winnebago,
Yeah.
an old one.
Yeah.
Because
The
that
good
way they
ones.
can't EMF me or whatever. What's that EMP or me or
Yeah,
whatever that is?
EMP.
Yeah.
I'll have a points distributor in it, an old big block Chevy with about a 250-gallon tank on it. That way they can't nail me.
All right.
Have my AM radio going. I'd have be listening to
Tune
tuned to WSTU, of course,
Yeah.
right? And I would have on the front of me a ranch hand bush guard. That
Okay.
way I could get through the front gates,
Okay.
right? Bulletproof glass in the front so they
course.
can't hit me with anything.
Well, yeah.
Have to have some sleeping quarters, extra room. So once I
Yeah.
get the aliens, I have to have a place for them to stay.
Yeah.
Now I don't know where and how they sleep. I've seen it.
You need a food processor
Well, I thought
for
they s-
making your smoothies, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, I might have to bring some jars. I've heard
Yeah.
that they live in these like long tubes and stuff. I saw
Oh,
it in.
yeah.
A
You've been
movie
watching
once.
too many movies.
I saw it in
Yeah.
a movie once.
Yeah,
I
the
think.
people floating in the vats of
That's what
liquid.
I heard.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
what I heard.
Oof.
I don't know, but I don't know what's going to go on. But
Yeah.
this should be interesting.
Yeah.
Whatever plays out, I don't think he was planning for it, but I really don't think
No.
what's the government's
2
planning
million
because the
people.
government can't do the Hong Kong thing.
No, my grandson and I were talking about this yesterday.
What are they going to do?
And I said to him, I says, well, if 2 million people show up and they try to storm the gate, I says, what do you think a bullet costs? It's a lot cheaper than dealing with anything else.
But it's not going to happen because it would just nail the federal government. I mean, I just can't see nothing. They can't do anything radical.
They have to protect the installation.
It is a government installation.
And there is,
And there are signs.
And there are
warning.
say very clearly it
Yeah,
says no
but-
trespassing.
but most importantly,
Yes.
there are national secrets there. Dark secrets that cannot be
Yes.
brought out into the public eye.
it is
Yeah.
very remote though.
Yes.
Yes.
If they close the road, then nobody could get there.
Well, so you're
Yeah.
talking about
So 2 million people show up and they say, "Go home, the road's closed."
Well, but you're forgetting I got a Winnebago with a battering ram on the front.
you're talking about the 2 million people that are going to show up. There's 15 miles you have to traverse by foot,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So these guys that are going to show up, they live in the basement at their mom's house, right?
Can I take back my
Playing
vehicle?
video games.
Can I take back my vehicle I'm
Playing-
going to bring in?
Playing video games. Yeah, please do.
Bigfoot. That
Bigfoot.
big, what's that big vehicle that, here it is right here. Bob Chandler and Bigfoot was nominated into the SEMA Hall of Fame. Maybe he'd let me one of his trucks. You know them big trucks with the big
Yeah.
tires on.
Yeah.
Bigfoot.
The monster trucks.
Monster
Monster
truck.
truck,
That's the
yeah.
only way to ride.
Yeah.
Monster truck. I'll drive right
that will
over
get
those
you
gates.
back there. That's
I'll
for
go
sure.
over.
But so, yeah, I think after walking a mile or two, they'd run out of water and they'd probably run
And you
out
know
of
who would be
steam.
riding?
Yeah.
Who's riding shotgun with me?
Who's that?
Bob Lazar.
Are you sure? Okay, Bob Lazar, of course.
He's a,
Yes,
he's
physicist. Yeah, yeah. No problem.
So I think what you're saying is they may not have thought this through enough.
I think you're right.
You know, Peter, I think you're right on this
Yeah.
one. I am.
I don't think a Boy Scout backpack's going to be enough.
I think conundrum is the word of the day. Conundrum.
Yeah.
Because I think both ends
Yeah.
are not prepared.
No.
Next story.
Yeah.
Give me a
Okay.
good, I got
All
a
right.
couple good ones.
Go,
here.
go.
Okay. Imagine you are working in a big city and you've drove to work and you're 2 hours from home.
Yeah.
And you ordered something from Amazon.
Okay.
What do? Well, you drive a Ford vehicle and you hook in with their Amazon key for Key by Amazon.
Key by Amazon.
Key by Amazon. Ford's linked up with them. And
I've
what
heard
they'll-
about this,
And
yeah.
what they'll do is they'll put the package in your car.
All
Yeah.
right.
Like app, you open the door up,
Mhm.
open the door, put the package in.
Nice.
Yeah. I guess you leave a tip then for the guy or the. Well, no, what they're driven by drones now. We don't need to leave tips.
Yeah.
Does that mean tips go away when we start to have everything automated?
I think so.
Oh, so the tipping world. So we're going to increase our
The rates will
the
go
gross the gross domestic product is going to go up by 5%.
Yeah.
No more tips.
Yeah.
Everything's automated.
up. Yeah. Isn't that wild?
How does a drone put your package in the trunk of your car?
A drone won't.
The sunroof.
Yeah.
Sunroof. Drops it down the roof.
Covers over it and drops it down through the top of the car.
The sunroof. Yeah,
Nice.
We knew that's why we're there. Sunroof. No, but it really is real, people. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, they have Amazon. The new
Yeah.
product from Amazon is it'll open your garage door.
Yes.
They come up there and they'll put your packages in your garage, or to go up, and then they leave and it goes down. It date and time stamps it, and you know that your goods have been delivered.
Yeah. Here's another good one.
Okay.
Jaguar Land Rover will give owners cryptocurrency in exchange for sharing data via technology installed in their vehicle. Cryptocurrency.
Yeah.
So I get bitcoins, I guess.
Yes, exactly
Bitcoins if
Yeah.
you share where you're at and what you're doing.
right. Mm-hmm.
So Land Rover
Yeah.
and the news for it.
Isn't that interesting?
I don't know if I'm subscribing to this program. I don't
No.
know if I like it.
No. It's
So,
kind of,
it's kind of creepy.
yeah, exactly.
And then the
That's
word
word.
cryptocurrency,
It's-
right, Peter? Crypto is kind of
Cryptic.
cryptic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kind of reminds me. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't
from the
like
word
it.
cryptic.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly.
Well, isn't that the whole basis? Is that
Yeah.
it's all masked behind some kind
it's
of?
encrypted so that you can't trace it. You
Yeah.
don't know where.
Is it
when-
encrypted currency?
Yes.
crypto? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
In crypto,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Crypto.
what it is.
Yeah.
It's that chain. It's a
blockchain.
blockchain. So
Yeah.
Well said.
everyone does the decoding of it to make it and then store it on everyone's computers and servers, so it can't ever be broken, the chain. Therefore, nobody can hack it and steal
Right,
because
it's
it's
supposed to be
always
theft-proof.
it's an algorithm that always is building on itself.
Right.
So a chain.
Yeah.
So
Oof.
anything new out there?
Yeah.
Stormy?
So Ford Lincoln are ready with their new midsize EV crossovers. Ford Motor Company plans to assemble 2 midsize battery electric crossovers under the Ford and Lincoln brands at a plant near Detroit for the 2023 model year. According to the 3 sources, the new vehicles shed further light into the company's plans to add 16 BEVs globally through 2022.
Very interesting.
Yes, yes. I think Elon Musk has opened up a can of EV.
No, he has. I think
globally.
he
Yes.
again. No, that's and we're
Yes.
going to talk about
Yes.
entrepreneurship because it's one of the
Mhm.
things Peter and I have discussed that we're going to talk about. But he is he attracted early adopters in that marketing cycle.
Mhm.
Elon Musk did, and now his opening the door with those early adopters has now become mainstream, and people are using EVs at a and that fear of the anxiety of losing distance with your
Right.
vehicle and not being able to refuel or recharge is now becoming non-existent.
Right.
And because of that, I believe and the cost of manufacturing is the economies of scale of these giga. Now where's that at? Is that in Arizona?
Yes.
Is
There's
it-
a
Is it
gigafactory.
near area
51?
51?
No.
No.
No, it's far enough away.
Oh,
And there's a
Okay.
gigafactory, I think, also in Hawthorne.
China. Isn't he doing one in China too?
Yeah, Shanghai.
Yeah.
hmm
Lithium is what the
Yeah.
magic ingredient is.
Cobalt's actually the magic ingredient.
And lithium is,
Yeah.
you know where there's plenty of lithium? We've talked about that. Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
No, we're not there because of that.
No.
It can't be worth the
No.
trillions that it is. It's
No.
no,
Even though that batteries are the future, aren't they?
Yes, they
Battery technology is going to
Yes.
lead the way.
Right?
It really will.
And so the real business is
Black
going to
and Deck-
be battery recycling. That's
Yes.
going to be the business.
Yes, sir.
Battery disposal.
Yes,
Right.
sir. Yes, sir. You're absolutely 100% correct there. Peter.
What was the first company to come up with the portable tools, batteries?
Black and Decker.
Black & Decker. And where was it first used? On the moon.
Right.
Oh, see,
Yeah,
But-
because there wasn't a 110 plug
I-
handy.
Yeah.
I am.
They
impressed.
needed
I am
a
impressed.
battery.
I am so
Battery.
impressed with this.
Yes.
Peter
And
knew,
back
and
then-
you knew.
Sure.
Wow,
It was the size of a small block Chevy, but you know,
Peter. You walked the walk on that hardware. You knew it.
I had to know that.
Now,
one.
he did that as a test just
Yeah.
to see if you
No, no.
really.
You know,
were
you
real.
you touched on Elon Musk, and
Yeah.
you talk about entrepreneurship, and
Yes.
to me, I really truly think that he is the true definition of entrepreneurship. Right? He put his hard work, his big money, and all that risk
Right.
to prove his point that he wanted to drive a vehicle
Yes, sir.
that runs on batteries.
Yep, yep, yep.
not
And
only
to this
just a
day,
vehicle,
he's
a
still
good
the-
vehicle.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Winning awards.
And we've got one in space, I believe, running around.
It's got to be the fastest known vehicle that man has ever made that's still in operation.
That's
So,
right. That remember
it
he
just-
put that roadster up there.
It just completed one orbit of the sun, by the way.
Oh, really?
Funny you should just mention that. It
And
was in
funny
the
and,
news
and
today.
quite interesting that you should know. Wow.
You are just a
Wow.
plethora of information.
He
Yes.
listen. I've got Joan who works for him. He's out in
Yeah.
the field,
Yes.
deep undercover.
She does a marvelous
She
job.
goes. She travels the
Yes.
earth looking for these automotive bits of information. In
Nuggets,
fact, let
yes,
me.
yes.
Tips and taps.
Let me
and-
just
Yes.
hot off the press.
Okay.
All right,
I
here it
had-
comes.
This is from an Enigma. We communicate with the Enigma.
Oh, the Enigma device. Yes.
yes, that's how
Mhm.
we communicate.
I've never heard of this.
Oh,
That's from World War II.
yes.
Okay, it's a typewriter.
Yes, that's right.
The Enigma. That's how we communicate.
That's what that was.
It was
I
off
know
a
what that is. now.
German sub, I believe it was. So, okay, let me get to the hot news.
Yeah, okay.
It's not always the cover. It's let's talk about these self-driving vehicles that are in operation in no less than Arizona.
Okay.
They have been in operation for, and Joan was telling me that she could not believe she got this report. Self-driving vehicle startup company Too Simple has been carrying mail across the state of Arizona for several weeks. And they make a 115-mile route between Phoenix and Tuscan. And what they do is they are self-driving. Okay. They have 9 cameras, 2 LiDAR sensors,
Mm-hmm.
which is light. It's kind of like radar, but light.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in a Navistar vehicle. But what's interesting is they have 2 people on board. They're not steering, but they have a driver as well as an engineer on board
To monitor.
to monitor it. But
Yeah.
they have made the route safely self-driving. I find that absolutely groundbreaking.
You
Yeah.
do know that the road is dead straight.
Yeah.
I know that. It's
There's
deep.
no curves. There's no mountains.
And-
It's dead
and it's
straight
hot.
And those are the ones where people always get into accidents.
Well,
It's those,
because they fall asleep behind the
right.
wheel.
It's so boring.
Joan said
Yeah.
it's hot out there too.
So let me guess. They went 115
miles.
miles in a straight line.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Wait till they go on.
That is going to be award winning.
Wait till they go on Canner Highway with all the construction. You think they can navigate Bob's barricades?
There may have been an armadillo that came across the road, but they
Could've-
swerved around that.
They got,
Okay.
yeah. Made it happen.
I've got a couple more.
Okay, go.
This is off the Enigma press.
Okay.
Okay. The 2019 Prius and RAV4 hybrid are subject to a new recall
Yeah.
that surrounds a fault in the brake assist program. They are recalling approximately 25% of the 25% of the total cars recalled are affected by it. So they don't know exactly which ones. It's 6,925.
Wow.
6,925 recalled
That's
for
quite-
brake. And we know braking's important,
Yeah.
especially on a hybrid because it's regenerative braking.
Yeah.
Right. That's how. What was the number we got from our 20% of the juice, or was it 10?
Oh, it's more than.
It was 15. I think it was
Yeah.
15 or 20% of
Yeah.
the recharge on the battery pack on a hybrid or electric cars
Right.
from the regenerative braking when you put the brakes on. Interesting stuff, actually. That your range, it's when you put the brakes on, you're really not using brakes. It's the electric motor,
Right. You're just charging the motor.
and and here's something.
Amazing.
Here's some secret information. The brake feel that you feel
Mhm.
on an electric car and a hybrid is a spring with a piston in oil. It's a fake.
It's
It
just-
tricks you into thinking that you're really putting the brakes on.
right.
True fact.
Yeah.
Factoid.
I love that.
And again, have you driven Teslas before?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, so then you know the feeling, right? You have different settings that you can do.
Oh,
But with
dude.
an electric motor,
Yeah.
when you press on the gas,
Hmm.
it's not gas, but when
Right.
you press on the energizer,
Right.
it energizes the motor and the vehicle accelerates.
Correct.
Equally, as you remove your foot, it decelerates.
That's
That's
right.
one of the ways you can do it.
Right.
But because we're so conditioned to normal driving, they made a fake brake so that you feel like you're
That's
doing
right.
something. But really, by removing your foot off
It's called
acceler-
engine braking. They do it. Yes,
the motors is what's really so.
that's right.
The brakes are much, even though they're fancy brakes on Teslas, they have a lot longer lifespan because they're not really used.
Well, tell
Exactly
tell
right.
if you would, Frank, tell Peter about when we left the parking lot. What was the experience like?
It was whiplash.
Yeah.
Of course, I only
He was driving.
it's either on or off the gas is the way I feel.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh.
Goodbye. Yeah.
Oh, it's linear
Oh yeah.
because
Sure.
electric motor has its torque is linear.
Yeah.
So same RPM. It's goes.
Yeah.
It's magical.
Yeah.
AC inductive motor. You know who patented that, don't you? Tesla. That's
Tesla.
why it's called the Tesla.
Yeah. See that? There
Factory.
it is.
Nikolai Tesla.
And you know the
Yes.
symbol of the Tesla? The symbol on the car is actually a cross section of their electric motor. Yes, it's the windings, the field.
You have a lot of facts today as well.
Yeah. He does. I love
Well, I have sources for these facts.
Yes.
Deep undercover in the
it.
field.
Yes.
Do we have to prove any of this stuff?
No.
No,
That's
That's
the
even
best
that's yeah.
The best part is when
This
you
is
all
a
your-
talk show.
Isn't
Yeah.
that the beauty of radio?
Yeah.
It must be true because I read it on the internet.
Or heard it from
yes.
Todd, Frank, and Peter.
Yes, there it is. See?
Wasn't there Peter, Paul, and Mary?
Yes.
There was.
Mhm.
It was a group, I believe.
Okay.
Give me some more facts.
Okay, well, just a little fun.
And then we're gonna take a break.
Not fun, but just some interesting, updated information about Andrew Gabler, who resigned as president. Oh my God! And this page decided to refresh.
No, I got
So-
something here.
Okay, go.
Let me go.
And
We're
it's
gonna-
back.
It's back.
Go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Andrew Gabler, who resigned as president of the National Independent Automotive Dealers Association earlier this year, he now faces fraud and wire fraud charges because he was
Stealing money.
This is from the NADA, National Association, Dealer
NADA,
Association.
yeah.
NIDA. Yes.
Oh.
NIADA.
No, he was on the take.
Yes.
Oh, please, we should not put him in that prison up in upstate New York
No.
because there's problems there.
Yeah. Oof.
There's
Yeah. So anyway,
missing cameras and guards.
So he's probably could share a cell with the guy from Nissan, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was he? He was from Renault.
Renault. Yeah.
Well, he went to Nissan. What was his name again? Can't think of his name. He's in jail and
Oh yeah.
it's over. Let me talk about horseshoe crabs.
Okay.
Okay, I
Horseshoe-
just caught my eye and I had to read this. Is from
Horseshoe-
Popular Mechanics. Horseshoe crabs. We all know what horseshoe crabs are. They're a
Shaped like a horseshoe.
throwback to the millions of years ago.
They are.
Right. Okay. Biomedical companies are bleeding more than 500,000 horseshoe crabs every year. Can this creature sustain itself? And this
They're
is interesting.
bleeding them. With their blood lighting them on purpose.
You know what a quart of that stuff sells for?
No.
$15,000 for a quart of blood, and it is blue, by the way. There it is right there.
Wow.
Blue.
I've heard of this
They
too.
use that in the manufacture of insulin, diabetes.
Wow.
So it's all going to good use, but there is no controls in place at a federal or national or international level to limit or even put any kind of like oversight on these poor horseshoe crabs.
You mean
it's
restrictions in fishing.
absolutely, it is.
So
a-
they're harvesting and they could wipe them out. Oh, poor things. Look at that. That's a terrible picture.
Isn't it just brutal?
Luckily, radio doesn't show that.
Right.
Oh, yeah, you're live on YouTube too. So
Oops.
camera's right there.
There you go.
Wow.
Yeah, that's horrible.
My thing is I have no beef with this. My beef is that there's no oversight.
Right.
It reminds me of the Onceler. Who knows what the Onceler is from Dr. Seuss's Thneeds with the trees? Remember, he invited all his cousins in to cut the trees down and make the little sweaters, and then all of a sudden the trees all disappeared. And what happened to all the workers and his cousins and friends? They all left,
Yeah.
and there was the Onceler with his one tree in a polluted world with only one tree left. So
Aha.
my story is this: if we're going to exploit
Right.
our Earth,
Hmm.
please do it in a smart way so we can replenish
There
what
you
we
go.
take
Yeah.
and leave it for future generations. I'll leave it at that.
Okay.
Horseshoe crab.
I'm going to have to look into that one more.
Very horrible. Let's take a break and we'll come back.
All right.
Welcome back, everybody. As I had said at the top of the hour, we have Peter from Peter's Hardware and Peter's Water Treatment and Irrigation. And without further ado, I want to hear his story, and he is here to tell it to us. Peter, tell me about your businesses, kind of when you started it, what your belief system is in it, and what motivated you to do it. Take it away.
Wow.
Other than that, you got nothing much to talk about.
No.
right? Yeah.
I think we're going to run through the hour on that one.
Well, you know, we started this thing off talking about entrepreneurship and
Yes.
the spirit of being an entrepreneur. And I want to say that probably at a very early age, probably like you as well, you know, you had that feeling about what it was going to be like, you know, to either go to work for somebody or go out there and, you know, be on it on your own. So, you know, I did the lemonade stand when I was probably, you know, 9 years old or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Sure.
Mhm.
So, before we move forward on that, as I said to you, Peter's Hardware, everybody knows me for.
Yes.
But to be honest with you, I got my start in the water purification and
And
water.
let's focus on that.
Yeah. So I moved here to Florida about 20 years ago. And I bought an existing water treatment business called Eco Water.
Sure.
It's been on the Treasure Coast since 1981. It was,
So a long-established business.
it was, yes.
Mhm.
And it was founded by a gentleman and his family, and it was a family-run business.
And it still is.
And that it is.
So-
So, but prior to that, I was also involved with Eco Water from a very young age.
Ooh.
So I grew up on Long Island, and there was all kinds of water problems on Long Island.
Yes, sir.
I got involved with this community outreach program called the Nassau Neighborhood Network, and they were addressing issues with contaminants in water. And they were concerned about the breast and liver cancer rates on Long Island being higher than everywhere else in the entire United States, and they were blaming the water.
Similar to that Love Canal situation.
Super fund type of thing. And they were
Yes.
thinking that some of those places on Long Island were very much going to be like that.
Interesting.
So I was young and entrepreneurial and just wanted to go out and work and go to school. And I got involved with this outreach group called the Nassau Neighborhood Network. And we would educate on the issues going on. And at the same time, we would sell these subscriptions or memberships. I was good at it, but it taught me a lot about water. And so I kind of had this thing about water, and I learned about contaminants and how important water was in life. And we, you know, grew up drinking water out of the tap. I mean, again, I'm 50 years old. So 50 years ago, you wouldn't think but just to go to the tap and turn it on and drink the water. So I went to college, and, you know, again, our conversation, I went to the school at the University of Arizona
Just
in
going to ask,
Tucson.
where'd you go to school?
Yeah, in Tucson. I started in Syracuse for a year.
Mhm.
I went up there, but it was way too cold.
She is connected to these aliens. I knew it.
That's why I was
I'm
trying to
trying
tell
to-
you.
there's
And
a
that's
hook-
how come I knew
there's
that
a hook-
115 miles is
There's a
straight
hook
road.
here. There's a hook here. It's connected.
So I left the East Coast to go to the desert Southwest, which I absolutely
Dry heat out there, isn't it?
beautiful.
No
though.
humidity.
Fell in love with
And
the
cars
desert.
don't rust out there.
That's why, yeah, some of the best cars you buy from
That's
out there.
right.
Yeah.
That's right.
And the Pima Air Museum is one of the best places to see all the old airplanes.
Repeat that again. The Pima.
Yeah, the Pima Air
I'm going
Museum.
to pop that
It's
one.
in
I-
Tucson, Arizona. yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I spent many of weekends. You
Pima Air Museum.
would jump the fence and you would sit on a
Wow.
wing and
There's
watch
a-
the sun go down.
There's a boneyard for old aircraft too out there.
It's connected to that.
Well, you
That's
friend,
exactly
you
the
remember I
place.
brought that MiG down for the air show.
Oh,
I
yeah.
transported it on my tow truck, a MiG full of bullet holes.
Yeah.
A MiG.
Wow.
Yeah, it was down here. And then we had the high school put it together.
You guys should look up the Pima Air
Oh,
Museum.
I'm
It's
on it.
fantastic.
Okay.
All right.
So you went to college and now
Yeah, and so while I was going to college, I needed a job. So of course, back then you looked in the newspaper. So I looked in the newspaper and the classifieds, and it said, part-time hours, full-time pay, environmental company specializing in water, looking for representatives, will train, no experience necessary.
Mhm.
So I go in and I sit with this guy, and what am I, 19 years old, and he's telling me about water, and he's saying,
and you already had a connection to it due to your
correct,
that
yeah. Yeah.
your
I just needed a
subscription sale-
job,
But this links in with your subscription
That's
sales that
correct.
you did
So
up in
he
Long
had
Island.
me. He had me right there because he was talking to me about water. And I said, well, I know about water. I just wanted a job.
Right.
So he says to me, listen, kid, I'm telling you, people are going to drink water in a bottle that they can get out of the tap for free. water is going to be more expensive than gasoline.
And this is
and milk.
I'm not
This
gonna-
was before there was ever bottled
This is
water.
a while
This is
ago.
when this was right at the days when they were delivering water to like businesses, but they were in those big glass.
Oh yeah.
It was
5 gallon.
dangerous.
Well, and,
Yeah.
anyone
Yeah.
ever remember The Graduate when they talked about plastics?
Plastic. Well, it's the same thing.
That's why I
this
said
guy
it.
was like water. So I
Yeah.
said, "Sounds great. Sign me up."
Yes.
I was 19 years old. That's when I got into the water treatment business. And so I worked for this guy. And at the same time I was going to college, I was technically I was a major in psychology with a minor in business.
Okay.
And right after I joined this guy and started working, I decided, you know what, maybe I should be a major in business with a minor in psychology.
Right.
So I would take these classes in college, and the classes that I was learning, I was applying
Right.
some of the lessons that I was learning, economics, micro, accounting. And
Sure.
so one of the things was this whole thing about how you market your business.
Yes.
So I learned about all of this. And you know what? I apprenticed with this gentleman and this dealership, and it was a water purification company.
And
we,
I'm assuming you were wildly successful.
we sold residential in-home water treatment equipment. So drinking water systems called a reverse osmosis unit, which back then nobody knew.
Yeah, that's the
right?
hot topic now.
It's under everybody's sink now. Everybody loves it because it's great tasting water. It's very inexpensive. It makes the safest, best quality of water, and there's no plastic.
And
You
it's-
don't have to you don't buy bottled water.
in Saudi Arabia, that's what they use for fresh water. They have desalination plants.
Well,
and that's reverse
I'm gonna get
osmosis.
to that in a second because I'm gonna tell you how my career went. So what happened was we sold these in-home water systems, drinking water systems, and also water refiners, which went on the outside of the house, which took care of all the work water.
So it was whole house.
Whole house systems. This was back in the early 80s.
Interesting.
And sure enough, a few years after that, Coca-Cola and Pepsi came out with their products, Dasani and Aquafina.
Mhm.
And the next thing you know, you start seeing bottled water. So imagine being a young guy and you're going into people's houses and you're telling them about the quality of water and that there's issues with it and they should be concerned. And these are people that would just drink water, tap. And you had to spend a lot of time building credibility and explaining to them that it's important to improve the quality of the water. And at the same time, you get safe water to drink as well. And it's
Right.
not much more money than they're already spending to have water that's coming out of the tap that they're paying the city. Now, here
Yes.
we go 30 years later, right? Here we are. And you say to somebody now, so do you drink tap water? And they kind of lower their eyes at you and they say, yeah, I'd rather drink bottled water.
That's
mean,
right.
Yeah. So we've come full 100
And there's
years
a whole conundrum with bottled water that we're not even going to touch today, but there's with the plastics on the bottled water. You better make sure it's the right plastic
and
the
there's
right,
even no guarantee that
and
the
there-
water that you're drinking is in a bottle is just water in
and
a
the right
bottle.
and the right accreditation and certification on that bottled water too.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting.
So I spent as we said about entrepreneurship. So
Yes.
I spent 5 years working my way through this guy's business. I started at the bottom. I was a canvasser. I used to knock doors and I would talk to people at their door and we would get in and make appointments.
shoe leather to the street.
Yeah. I was like the Fuller Brush man.
Mhm.
Doesn't exist anymore, but
No.
but I learned a lot. And then I worked my way into the marketing room, then into the sales department, then installation. Then I got my plumbing license and I became a journeyman plumber and then a MM1 plumbing. And then eventually, the owner of the place, he would throw me the keys and he'd say, hey, I'm going on vacation for a week. You run the place. So I did very well. We grew the business and I went to college at the same time. And anyway, 5 years for college. And but I learned a lot.
Gave you a chance to sample a lot of the other things, the other uses for water, right? Brewing.
What you make water with. Yes, of course.
Yes.
A lot of that.
Yes.
So you were out in Arizona for 5 years.
Yeah. So the owner of the company, he kind of started realizing that if he didn't do something with me, that most likely, right? Because what does an entrepreneur want to do? We want to own our own business.
Right.
That's right.
So I worked for this guy for 5 years. And he said, you know what? Maybe I should think about helping this guy out. So he made a phone call to Echo Water Corporate. And he said, I've got a guy that could potentially be a great dealer. Are you interested in interviewing him? So they came in and they visited with me. And a short while after that, I moved to Santa Fe, New Mexico, which was one state over
Well,
in the high desert.
that's a hot spot for
Mhm.
vortexes, energy, and everything. Santa Fe. That's where
Again, right up my alley.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Aliens.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm telling you, you got a good guy here. So I
Oh,
know
yeah.
all about this stuff.
this is fabulous.
So I opened up my own water treatment at the company at the age of 24.
Mhm.
Okay, I went into business for self. I
Con-
borrowed $16,000
congratulations.
from my mom and dad, and I paid them back in 6 months,
Oh,
every penny.
yeah.
Nice.
And so again, it was
I love-
it was risk. But it was when opportunity met preparation. I knew that I was going to be in business, but I knew that I would never be able to work for somebody. You know, I knew that my destiny. Every time I got a paycheck from this guy, I knew that I was creating that paycheck for myself because I was commissioned, you know.
Right.
But at the same time, I knew that the money that I was making was not just benefiting him, but me too. But I knew that I could do this, give people jobs, and I could be a owner also.
Mhm.
Yes.
And so at a young age, I took that risk, and you know, it's all I've ever done. So I lived in New Mexico, in Santa Fe, and shortly after that, within a 5-year period of time, I had the entire state of New Mexico, and I owned a very large water purification, water treatment business in Albuquerque and the surrounding areas, and then ran it for 15 years, and then ended up selling it, and I don't know, 38, yeah, and then wanted to return back to the East Coast. So the funny thing is, I got married, had a wife, and we wanted to have children and didn't really want to settle in New Mexico. All my family are on the East Coast and my wife's family are from the East Coast. And here we are in the high desert in New Mexico.
Mhm.
And so we would look at the mountains and dream of the ocean. And so I said, you know what? Maybe we should sell and move to the ocean. So we moved to Florida.
Fabulous. I'm so glad that
Yeah. And the funny story is, so my mom was living in Boca.
Okay.
We come down the turnpike, we go over the bridge, and when I look down, I see the American Marine and yachts in
American
there.
yachts. Yeah.
We get off. I said, look at this place. It's the Stewart.
Yeah.
I said, let's see.
So this was a random.
totally random.
So many. You have no idea how many different variations.
That's
of
how
the
I ended
very
up here.
Same story I have heard.
How people find their way into
I
Stewart.
started
Yes.
in. We started in.
I
Vero
was
and worked
retired.
down.
I sold my business. I didn't have a job. And my wife was like, you got to get a gig. Okay. You got to find something to do. You're not going to stay retired. I said, yeah, I know. So I said, have you ever been to Florida? Come on. So we actually had a child, and I was taking the year to get to know my new son.
Yes.
And we come over and we go up Caner Highway. We come in, we hit downtown Stewart with the sailfish
Yes.
capital of the world,
Yes.
golf, that
Yep.
beautiful downtown area.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, look
Indian
at this place.
Street. Yep.
Yeah, I'm like, look at this place. It's beautiful. Then we go up and over the Roosevelt Bridge, and I come down off the Roosevelt Bridge onto the left-hand side, and there is a big sign that says Echo Water. And I'm like, wow, look at that. That's an Echo Water dealership.
And you had no idea it was.
Nope, no idea. So I pull a Yui. I stop in. I said to my wife, her name is Angela, and I said, Angela, I'm going to go and introduce myself to these guys. So I come in, and I introduce myself, and the gentleman, the manager there, his name was George Lennon. And I said, hey, George, how you doing? I'm Peter from Eco Water as well in New Mexico. He's like, oh, yeah, I heard of it. Yeah. And we were, fellow Echo Water brothers. So he said, my dad started this place, and it's
You
been
had
here
said 1980.
1981. Yeah.
81, yeah.
And he said, he sold it a few years ago to a big company called Chesapeake Utilities that wanted to run this with gas. He said, but they decided to get out of the water business and just keep their gas interest. So this place is up for sale. You interested?
Boy,
And I'm like, what?
lightning strikes twice for you, in a good way.
So I'm thinking, all right, I need something to do.
Wow.
I want to move to Florida. So I get back in the
And it's
car.
all
I said,
because you saw the American yachts as you're going over the bridge on the turnpike.
something drew me to Stewart, Florida. I mean, how could you not
Wow.
like Stewart, Palm City,
I
and the
agree
Treasure
100%.
Coast?
That's why we're here doing a radio show every week. Let's take a break and we'll come back. welcome back, everybody. As if you haven't figured out, we have a special guest on here from
Right.
Peter's Water Treatment and Irrigation. He's been telling his tale of entrepreneurship. It started out in the Arizona desert, and it's worked its way through American yachts all the way to Eco Water, and we're now at the point where he's getting
Right.
ready to buy it. Continue on with the tale, Peter.
You have to agree, though, it was a no-brainer, right? Selling water in the desert. I mean,
Yeah,
right? So it was a good start.
Yeah.
And how fitting for 2 million people that are going to need water shortly.
Yeah.
With this
See,
alien
you
thing.
know, take your show on the road.
Yeah.
You can.
All I can think of is the
if
amount
you
of
leave
plastic
now-
that they're going to leave behind,
right.
which is
horrible.
terrible.
Yeah. If you leave now, you can get there in time. For
I've been hearing-
2 million people.
I've been hearing that there's pieces that rainwater now has microparticles of plastic in it.
Microplastics.
In
It's
rain,
everywhere.
in
Yeah, it's
rain.
everywhere. It's in the ocean everywhere.
I know.
Yeah.
Continue on, Peter.
All right, I'll continue. So we were talking about walked out of that dealership, and I came in, I sat down in the car, and I said to my wife Angela, I said, "It's a good place." She said, "Yeah." I said, "I'm going to buy it."
Super. And you did.
Well, she said, "Well, so what did you find out?" I said, "It's for sale." And she went, "Yeah." And I said, "I'll buy it." I said, you want to move to Florida? This is our home. This is it.
God's laying out the golden pathway right here.
Yeah, it was just made sense. So anyway, that was early 2000. And we had quite a few years of growth, as you guys remember. I mean, up
Oh
until
my gosh.
2006, 7, it was tremendous. We took that business and we grew it, and we expanded our services. And part of what we do is obviously water softening and water purification, drinking water systems, RO systems.
You
salt
also
delivery.
do with grass too, right?
That's correct. So we have a large irrigation division, meaning that we do pumps and tanks and lawn irrigation installations. And so we were very, very busy with the new builders and all of the construction that was going on. Remember, St. Lucie County was the #1 fastest growing county in the entire United States, faster than, in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
And then in a short amount of time, as we remember, back in 2008, we went from boom to bust. And I remember the day where we went from having 600 purchase orders to do work to I couldn't even get people to answer the phones. And I had hundreds of thousands of dollars in receivables, and I couldn't get paid, and people were losing their houses. And it went from the best of times to the worst of times. And here I am, I'm a young entrepreneur, right? We put our hard-earned money, our time, and our risk at play. I had employees, and I never really had to let anybody go because of not doing their job. I mean, obviously I've let people go in the past, but it was because they didn't do what they were supposed to. But it was very difficult for me to walk into my business and say to people, "I'm sorry, I've got to let you go, and you've done nothing wrong." And as we know, that whole retracement on the Treasure Coast with, trickle down effect, how people lost their jobs, and then they don't go to the restaurants, and then the dry cleaners went out of business. And
Right,
so
right.
this leads into my story. So I moved to Palm City. My wife and I were living in Palm City, where we were raising our family. And then the local hardware store closes. This was in 2008, 2009. And then shortly after that, the restaurants, the paint store closed. So I was a customer of the local hardware store like everybody else. And every weekend I'd make my trek into there and go buy my nuts and bolts and the stuff I needed for the house. And
Sure.
obviously, with the economy being the way that it was, you couldn't sell your house right then, so you had to fix it. So I always was in the store fixing it. So the local hardware store went out. I'd have to go over the bridge to either Home Depot or Lowe's.
Yep.
So I kept saying, I wonder who's going to open up a hardware store in Palm City.
Peter.
It was not even a blip on my radar, to be honest with you. And then I was at Home Depot, and I ran into the old owner of the hardware store in Palm City.
The one that had closed.
Yeah. Yeah. He
Ah.
sold it prior, and a husband and wife couple bought it.
Was it in a different location too?
It was behind the Walgreens,
Yeah, he used to sell
and it
guns.
was a
He used
true
to,
value
he used to
hardware
sell
store.
guns too there.
I don't know. It was
He
a
did,
big store.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I've been there.
I don't remember the guns.
He did. He had a Remington. He sold Remington guns.
Yeah.
I remember seeing him.
I mean,
there.
I used to go in there and buy, the stuff, but it was an okay hardware store.
It wasn't.
It
great.
wasn't great. It was an okay hardware store.
It was very cookie cutter, true value.
Yeah, we'll just leave it at that. So he said to me, "Yeah, hardware store in Palm City would be really great." He says, "You would be great to open a hardware store." I'm like, he's like, listen, I don't want to be in business, but if you want to open a hardware store, I'll help you.
Really? We have 5 minutes.
Okay. So you talk about that entrepreneurial spirit. So I go home to my wife and I say to her, I think Palm City needs a hardware store. And I think I have a place for it. And I want to open a hardware store. I think
And this
is in 2009, 2010.
so you had laid a bunch of people off at the Eco place.
So my Echo Water business is going down the tank. I am spending money, losing money, and giving my life savings away.
This is a true entrepreneur. So
I
your
am stressed. My
next
wife and
idea-
I'm afraid I'm going to lose my home. I am spending my life savings. You know, like when you sit at the table in Vegas and you're down to your last $5, you go, well, what the hell? I'll just throw it out there and maybe I'll win big. I said to my wife, I said, what do we have to lose? I said, if we're going to go out of a business and go broke, we might as well go broke big, right? I said, I believe that you expand in a recession. And I said, the economy isn't always going to be bad, and Palm City is going to need a hardware store. And I've got a great idea on how to do it. So she was like, you're crazy. You don't know anything about hardware. I said, but I'm going to get some help. And that's the way it works with being an entrepreneur. And so, as you know, we built this store. It worked out. I opened the store and the people started coming. And my philosophy was pretty straightforward.
Where are you located, Peter?
We're at 1105
Yeah.
Southwest Martin Downs Highway, just Martin Downs Boulevard. I'm sorry. Just over the old Palm City.
Right
Bridge.
over the old Palm City
White
Bridge.
picket fences, American flags, Peters Hardware.
And your water treatment irrigation business is located.
You're a very nice man. Thank you. Just over the Roosevelt Bridge on the left-hand side, across from the new Publix there.
And what's the best way to get a hold of us? Hold of you? Is you have a website?
Yeah, just Peters Water Treatment.
Peters Water Treatment.
Or
everybody.
Peters Hardware.
Peters Hardware.
Or you
Peters-
just ask Google. Say, hey, Google, hey, call Peter.
Or
I think you could do that these days.
You could call Crown Car Care at 772-781-8000. That's our number at both. Well, you can get through to both of our locations.
You just
through that
ask
number.
Google, Peters Hardware or Peters Water Treatment, and
you'll get right
I'm
there.
sure we're going to call.
Isn't
it'll
that
come up.
fabulous? So we have a way for our listening audience to get a hold of Peter.
Yes.
Right.
And Peter, you provide a great service, not only in the water irrigation and water treatment, but you also have a home style, down to earth, old fashioned hardware store located right over the old Roosevelt Bridge on the right hand side. You can't miss it. They sell Richards paint. They've got a selection of nuts and bolts. If you need any stainless steel hardware or any boaters out there, my gosh, go right over to Peter's Hardware. He'll be able to help you out. They've got some people there that can cut keys. They'll sell everything from car wax to gosh, I've bought stuff there. What did I buy there the other
I would
day?
think you've been in there a lot now. You really know it.
Of course I have. I know you're
Listen, the whole idea
know
was to
everyone
be open every day. It's well lit. It's a clean store, and more importantly, is you've got great service. Service is everything, and that's what I remember when I was growing up. When I would go to my hardware store, the guy, you would walk in there, and the guy would say, you say to him, "I need this," and he'd say, "Yeah, I got that," and he'd walk down there and he'd grab his little clamps and he would grab it down off the shelf, blow it off, and say, "Is this what you're looking for?"
Yeah, now, do you sell what we just talked about? Do you sell any of those cordless thingies that you use, drills and tools? You
I think
sell
I
that
have a
stuff?
few of those available.
you
for
do?
sure. I may, yes.
Oh, well, fabulous. You see, he's a full service, fully stocked hardware store.
Yes.
And not only, I've got one question for you before we go.
I've had a great time. Yes. Thank you so much.
Every time I drive around, I see these white fences with water rust all over them. What is that?
Well, that's a water treatment question. And yes, Florida is natural for having many minerals in the ground, and that's iron.
Can you help people with that? problem?
Yeah. We sell a product called Peters Rust Off.
So listen, everyone out there, if you've got any rust on your fence, and you know what I'm talking about, it goes on your siding and your sidewalk. Go over there to Peter. He'll help you out.
It's a magic product.
got a
You
magic
spray it on
product.
it and it makes the rust go away.
Peter. This is the big thing here. Rust is horrible in Florida. I see it everywhere on the sidewalks, buildings, and you've got a product that can treat it.
I do.
Wow. And he's
does a
right
great job.
over. If you go over the new Roosevelt Bridge, I'd say about a quarter mile on the left-hand side, maybe half a mile. He's right there.
Yeah, that's Peters Water Treatment. I
Yeah.
sell my rust off there as well. Yeah.
We'll direct everybody there.
But if you have any questions, by all means, you're always welcome to call. And all you got to do is call into my businesses, and you can ask for me because I'm there every day. I believe in
And you have a full staff at both locations too. So
that is correct.
you have knowledgeable staff, friendly staff, and they have all the information, all
Great prices, fast service,
and
and
yes,
knowledgeable
yeah,
specialists.
and you go out to people's home with that too, with the water treatment, right there on the spot.
You've been very good to me today. Thank you.
It's
so
been a pleasure
much.
having you on, Peter. You're always welcome. Get us a commercial. We'll blast it a couple times on our show. We just can't. We're just so excited to have you here.
Can't believe how quick this went.
It's a fast hour, everybody.
Wow. Thank you again.
God bless
so much.
everybody and have a great week, a successful week.
Yes, and give out your contact information.
772-781-8000 is Crown Car Care. We have 2 locations. We have one off Cove Road with Mike. Been with me 10 years, and we have one in Palm City. 772-781-8000.
Okay.
Everybody, good night.
And we'll see you next week right
You
here.
Betcha.
All right.